Hello everybody, welcome to Review a Day, episode number 31 for Friday, September the 12th, 2008. Hello everybody, welcome to Review a Day, the daily video blog where I review a movie 7 days a week. My name is Leland Brunger and thank you very much for joining me. The film I'm going to talk about today is a documentary called Jesus Camp. This film is directed by Heidi Ewing and Rachel Grady, and this film is about it focuses on an evangelical indoctrination Jesus camp where children from all around, this camp is in North Dakota, children come from all over the United States to come there and kind of learn how to give talks about Jesus, to learn about Jesus. It's a Jesus camp for young children. Before I even start this review, I think it's kind of hard to talk about it without getting into other topics of religion and politics, but it's hard not to because they're so intertwined. However, this film is not an indictment of Christianity on a whole, and I think the majority of Christians who see this film will be very surprised at what's going on in this film. This film really only touches on a very fundamental minority of Christians, but it is very interesting and ultimately very disturbing kind of film. Like I said, but this is a really well-made documentary. I never really felt like when I was watching this, like I was being manipulated to think a certain way about the events that are taking place. I feel like Michael Moore, his films, always really are kind of pushing you to think one way about the subject or whatever they're talking about. This film, it does a really great job of simply just presenting the facts to you. And I think with documentaries, that is more important than anything, and this film does a really great job at that. Portrays it with a really even hand. I think that they chose some really fascinating and kind of unique kids to follow in this film. Not one of the characters, it's a real person, is this little girl, and she's like dancing alone in her room, and I was like, that is very, it was kind of funny, and I related to that. And then she started talking about how she actually feels guilty for dancing for herself, for the flesh, as she calls it. If she's not dancing for Jesus, she feels guilty about it, which I found just so surprising that this is like Footloose, where people don't dance. Like, they can't even dance without feeling guilty about it. There was actually one of the other girls in this movie. I think she's the one who's in a bowling alley early on in the film, and she gives a pamphlet to just this random woman. She's like, Jesus is watching and loving you. This girl looked exactly like Shawn Johnson, Olympic silver medalist. Shawn Johnson, the gymnastics little girl from Iowa, I think. But they looked exactly like it. It kind of freaked me out. But I think it is really important to know that this film doesn't really pass judgment on the people that it's following. I never felt like they were taking advantage or kind of like, look how stupid these people are. The film has a lot of compassion for the people it's documented. I think that's definitely one of the strongest points of this film, is that it is very harsh, but it's told with compassion for these people. And I don't think at any point does it bash on evangelical or Christian beliefs. It just plays it out and you kind of get to see it unfold. I really spent a lot of this film with my mouth open, kind of like, I couldn't believe that there's so many people in the United States who think so differently than I do, that their belief structure was just so different. And what was most fascinating to me was when this film showed the political side of this, when there's a session when they bring a cardboard cutout of George Bush, and they talk about how he is the chosen one, and that we need to support him, and that they're having all these kids. These kids are chanting for George Bush, and the film is told. The kind of backdrop for the story is when George Bush was electing Alito to the Supreme Court. So it's just this very interesting thing that I wasn't expecting, was a very political edge to this film, but it's interesting. It's not heavy-handed. It's done very well. Everything. The story's. It's really elegantly told and put together. It's not ham-fisted political propaganda film or anything like that. One thing that I thought was just really ridiculous that I kind of wanted to talk about was that there's a moment in this film when one of the main pastors, priests, I don't know what they are, I don't think they're really anything, but she's giving a talk and she says, how many of you here like Harry Potter? And she says, if Harry Potter was in the Bible, he would have been killed for being a warlock. And I think it is so ironic that she picked out Harry Potter because the ideals and kind of some of the things that you take out of Harry Potter have more in common with the teachings of Jesus and about tolerance. They have more in common with Jesus in the Bible than anyone in this film does. Harry Potter has more in common with the Bible than anyone in this film does. And it was shocking. This is kind of a disturbing documentary. I highly recommend it. I give it a 4 out of 5. You're not going to hell if you like Harry Potter. Incredibly interesting. I found it really fascinating. Okay, tomorrow, well, today technically is Friday, so I'm going to be going to see Burn After Reading, so tune in Saturday for my review of that. If you guys are liking these reviews, make sure and subscribe. If you have any recommendations on any films you'd like to see me review, leave them in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.